Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Welcome back. Discourse analysis and critical discourse analysis. These two terms often confuse students. In this video, we will discuss how these two types are different from each other.
If we talk about the major differences between discourse analysis and critical discourse analysis, as compared to critical discourse analysis is a broader approach. Discourse analysis is a broad methodological approach that studies language and use. It involves analyzing spoken, written, multimodal text to see how meanings are constructed, how interaction is maintained, and how relationships are organized. So, the main focus of discourse analysis is to see the construction of meaning, the way of instruction, and relationship. Discourse analysis can mainly concern with the function of language in real life communication, in real life situation, how language is used to perform functions. Not necessarily political, it could focus on turn taking in conversation, narrative structure, or language in educational settings. So it is not necessary discourse analysis is a political, it may be political, but its focus is analyzing conversation, narration, or language in a political setting. For example, analyzing how doctors and patients interact in medical consultation to understand communication patterns. If we analyze a discourse or discussion or interaction or dialogue between doctors and patients, we can see what are the patterns of communication carried out during conversation. What are the communication patterns? This comes in discourse analysis. If we talk about critical discourse analysis is a specific type of discourse analysis that deals with ideological and political orientation. So the purpose or main objective of critical discourse analysis to analyze ideology and power relations, discourse as a form of social practice. So critical discourse analysis takes discourse as a social practice, and this practice is related to produce or challenge power. It concerns with the production of power or challenging of the power and ideologies in the society. So the critical discourse analysis deal with the power relations, whether maybe production of the power or challenging of the power, and construction of ideologies through language. The main function of critical discourse analysis to see how language contributes to the production of social justice, injustice, discrimination, or inequality. So we can say that critical discourse analysis is mainly concerned with the production of social justice or injustice, discrimination between the different sets of society or groups of society, or inequality. Critical discourse analysis aims to describe discourse but to critique and suggest changes. As compared to discourse analysis, its main objective is to evaluate, to critique, to see critically, evaluate the production, reproduction, challenging, or abuse of test for what are the possible remedies for this unuse or injustice or abuse of power. For example, analyzing how migrants are framed in a newspaper as invaders, burdens, and how such discourse reinforces anti-immigration ideologies. So this example we have also discussed in previous slides or previous lecture of critical discourse analysis. Now, this we would discuss it in the coming slide as well. So, how the migrants are presented as a burden or invaders, and to see how such discourse reinforces immigration. What are the possible effect of generating or creating ideologies, or what are the possible objectives behind such narratives? If we keep discourse analysis and critical discourse analysis side by side, we can see that discourse analysis might ask how the message is constructed and how the meanings are conveyed. Its main objective is to analyze the structure of the language, use a particular context, and meaning conveyed as a result of that structure. Critical discourse analysis sees what possible objective was behind that message and what ideologies are hidden in that and what power structure does it support or challenge. When the message was created, it was abuse of power or use of power. Some particular message was being presented, or some particular group of society was served, or they were opposed. So what possible this difference was? Let's have an example and see it more closely. Unskilled migrants flood the city, straining public resources. So let's we have this example, this headline in a newspaper. So what it could possibly, if a person, if a discourse analyst is going to analyze, it might see the lexical choices used within that example. For example, what it meant, how the word flood has been used, unscaled has been used. So this adjective has been used. Sentence structure, what are the lexical choices have been used? So lexemes, what kind of lexemes have been used? Or what kind of vocabulary has been used in particular example? And what is the structure of the sentence? How the structure has been created? Is complicated, is a simple, it is passive wise, is complicated or complex? Framing, how it has been framed, how had it been presented. So this would be the concern of discourse analysis. On the other hand, if we see that objective of a critical discourse analysis, it would go further and try to seek or see, analyze the ideology behind the production of this sentence. So, what was the objective of framing that particular news? What was the objective of using these lexical choices? So, what possible ideology might be? How does the framing influence public? So, what was the objective behind it? Whether it was making people against or inciting or invoking people against immigrants, or who is marginalized or empowered by this discourse. So, by propagating such kind of ideology or propaganda, whose objectives are being served, who are being benefit as a result of that particular use of lexical choices, use of structure or framing. So, if I sum up this one, discourse analyst would see the structure of sentence or language, kind of vocabulary or lexical choices used in particular sentence or type, how the language has been framed. On the other hand, critical discourse analyst would dive deep in further and try to see what the possible objective behind use of particular vocabulary lexical choices or framing in a particular way. How does it reflect or reinforce xenophobia, nationalism, or classism? So, what purpose is being served by framing the news in a particular way? If we have a quick review of the differences between critical discourse analysis and discourse analysis, the focus point of view, discourse analysis relates with the meanings, construction of meanings, whereas critical discourse analysis sees construction of and maintenance of power, challenging of power, dominance, and ideology. If we talk about approach, it's descriptive and interpretive, whereas it is critical and transformative in use of critical discourse analysis. The goal of discourse analysis to understand how language is used in communication, whereas the goal of a critical discourse analysis to expose and challenge power imbalances and ideologies pinned in particular discourse. From data point of view, discourse analysis takes a conversation from day-to-day life. It might interviews, it might be media news or talks, and so on. Whereas mostly critical discourse analysis deals with the political speeches because this relates to power. Media text, laws, policies, and what is advertising, because these are meant to abuse power or use power or maintain power. And from theoretical point of view, discourse analysis has roots in linguistics, social linguistics, and pragmatics, whereas critical discourse analysis is based in critical theory, sociology, post-structuralism, ideology, because it's an interdisciplinary field. It roots belongs to different multiple disciplines. If I summarize the difference between discourse analysis and critical discourse analysis, discourse analysis is a broader methodological approach, whereas critical discourse is a subfield of discourse analysis. The scope of discourse analysis is broader. It deals with the conversation, narratives, media, etc. Whereas focus of critical discourse analysis is media, legal, and institutional discourse. Its stance is descriptive and interpretive, whereas it's political, evaluative, and transformative.
Main thing to remember is that all critical discourse analysis is a type of discourse analysis, but all discourse analysis is not a critical discourse analysis, because this is a broader term. This is a broader, and CDA is a part of discourse analysis. DA helps to understand how people use language. Critical discourse analysis helps to understand why they use language, and the power reflected to the use of language and implication as a result of the use of particular language. I hope you have understood it. The key differences between discourse analysis and critical discourse analysis. If you have any questions, please write in the comment box. Thank you.